Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to talk about hyper spirituality. No, maybe we should call it super spirituality, or maybe even ultra spirituality. At any rate, it's the kind of spirituality that sets you above the rest. So, if someone else has a certain sin, you can point your finger at it because you are super spiritual, ultra spiritual. If there's a certain sin that you don't particularly care for, you can look down on those individuals that are participating in those sins because you're hyper spiritual. You see, the sin that others do, especially if it's homosexuality or having an abortion, they're worse than any sin that the super spiritual or hyper spiritual could ever commit. I say this because I recently found out that Marcus Lamb had an affair, an adulterous affair, a few years ago. And I just found this information out just tonight, as a matter of fact. Well, I happened to be at a conference that his wife spoke at, and he was present the latter part of 2009. At this conference, she spoke on homosexuality and abortion. Now, why you pick those topics to speak to a group of women who look like you and walk like you and talk like you and act like you and dress like you and watch you on TV and worship you probably more than they worship Jesus Christ himself is a mystery to me. But nevertheless, that's what she spoke on. Well, her husband proceeded to follow up by admonishing all of the women who had had abortions to repent. And he, lovingly, kindly, and sweetly let them know that God still loved them and he loved them too. All the while, there was this little secret that no one knew. And the little secret was that he had had an affair. He cheated on his wife. Well, I guess since he's super spiritual or hyper spiritual, his sin didn't matter. And if there was a need for him to repent, he could do it behind closed doors, while all of those women who had had an abortion needed to walk down the aisle in front of 1,700 people, raise their hands, say it was them, get on their knees, and let him lay hands on them so that they could truly be cleansed and freed and washed from their awful, awful sin. Yeah, I was there at that conference, and it was very disturbing to say the least. Just for the simple fact alone that I had to sit up and hear a message on how awful homosexuality is and how bad it is to have an abortion. Now, I don't condone homosexuality or abortion, but neither do I condone a man cheating on his wife. Neither do I condone any other sin, that God instructs us to flee from. But it has just become apparent to me that if you are hyper spiritual or ultra spiritual or super spiritual, or you own a TV network, then your sin is never as bad. And you only have to confess your sin when somebody finds out about it and they threaten to sue you or expose you or blackmail you. Other than that, you can keep yours quiet. Beware of the super spiritual, the hyper spiritual, and the ultra spiritual. Beware. It's becoming more and more obvious that they have secret little sins that they can just sweep under the rug and no one ever has to know, which makes them far better and greater than any of you little peons that need to be exposed for the awful, low-down, rotten, dirty sinner that you are. But God still loves you. He'll forgive you. And so will the hyper spiritual. And so will the super spiritual. Until they are found out. Thank you for tuning in, and be blessed.